The $46,000 wedding that collapsed in 60 seconds. We know you paid the $46,000 for the venue, but Scarlett's fiancé doesn't want you at the wedding. Those words arrived at 11:47 p.m. the night before my sister's dream wedding. 23 words that would make me do something I never thought I was capable of. My name is Gabriel, and this is how I brought down a $70,000 wedding with a single finger tap, and why it was the most liberating moment of my life. The text that changed everything. I'm sitting in my cramped apartment, still in my paint-stained hoodie from work, when my phone buzzes. It's from Mom, but I know Scarlett is behind it. She always is. Gabriel, we know you paid the $46,000 for the venue, but Dominic's family doesn't want you at the wedding. There are complicated dynamics, and Scarlett thinks it's best if you sit this one out. We're all grateful for everything you've done. Maybe a nice family dinner next week. I read it 4 times. Each time it hits differently. We know you paid. Acknowledgement without appreciation. Sit this one out. Like I'm some problematic relative instead of the guy who funded their entire fairy tale. I set my phone down and actually laugh. The audacity is so breathtaking it becomes almost artistic. Here I am, Gabriel Reeves, 33, living paycheck to paycheck, having just been uninvited from the wedding I single-handedly financed. But here's the thing about being pushed too far. Sometimes you don't push back. Sometimes you pull the foundation out from under everything. How it all started. 14 months ago. It began with what seemed like the most innocent voice message. Hey Gabe. You know how crazy expensive weddings are. I just need a teensy bit of help getting started. Just the venue deposit, you know? Teensy bit of help. $5,000. I wired it that same day, thinking about how proud I was of Scarlett. She'd always been the golden child. Instagram perfect smile, thousands of followers, someone who commanded attention just by walking into a room. At 28, she was everything I wasn't. Confident, popular, magnetic. The second request came 3 weeks later. A $12,000 dress she was absolutely in love with. I said no to that one. That's when the nickname started. You've always been the practical one, Mr. Budget, she typed with laughing emojis. But even through the screen, I could feel the edge. Mr. Budget. That became her pet name for me. At family dinners, in group texts to her friends. Always with a laugh, but it cut deeper each time. Still, I paid for the photographer. $3,200. The DJ. $2,000. The lighting. $4,800. The breakfast tent. $6,500. Each time, it was just one more thing. Each time, I was the only one who could help. Each time, I told myself this was what family did. I was funding my own erasure, one wire transfer at a time. The breaking point. The moment I truly understood what was happening came through a text about wedding rings. Found the perfect designer bands. $8,000 total. We're building a legacy here, right? Something that represents our family's success. Our family's success. Built on my bank account. Where's Dominic in all this? I typed back. It's not really his place. This is our family's event. He's basically just the groom. I want everything to look like it came from our side. That's when I realized. This wasn't a wedding. This was a performance. Scarlett wasn't marrying Dominic. She was marrying an image of herself as someone wealthy and successful. And I was the invisible ATM making it possible. By summer, the costs were bleeding into my real life. I missed a crucial client meeting for Scarlett's cake tasting. Lost a big account. My manager called me in about priorities. My girlfriend Mia left me 3 months before the wedding. I feel like I'm dating a ghost, she said through tears. I don't think she even likes you, Gabriel. She just knows you'll pay. She wasn't wrong. The invisible man. A month before the wedding, I discovered just how erased I was. Scrolling Instagram, I found Scarlett's Q&A about wedding costs. It's been such a blessing. My family's been so supportive, and the whole vision has come together organically. Organically. Like $46,000 had sprouted from thin air. My name appeared nowhere. Not in captions, not in thank you posts. But the cupcake toppers her friend brought? Full posts with hearts and tags about friends who show up with love. I'd paid for brunch for 60 people. Tessa brought 12 cupcake toppers from Target. Guess which got recognition? Even my parents played along. When people asked about wedding planning, I never got mentioned. Always the family pulling together. Everyone contributing. The final insult. I wasn't invited to the rehearsal dinner. When I texted Mom, she said Scarlett thought it might be awkward with her influencer friends. Nothing personal, she said. Just being excluded from the dinner, before the wedding I funded. The night everything changed. So when that text arrived at 11:47 p.m., I felt something I'd never felt before. Not anger. Not hurt. Freedom. I didn't sleep. At 6 a.m., I made coffee and sat on my fire escape, watching sunrise over a city that suddenly felt full of possibilities instead of obligations. I opened my banking app. Pending transfers everywhere. The caterer, bartender, string quartet, flowers, transportation. Everything set to go. At 7:30 a.m., I put on my best suit, the one I'd bought specifically for this wedding, and decided I was going after all. Not because they wanted me there, but because I wanted to be there when their castle of lies crashed down. The wedding day. The Grandview estate was everything I'd paid for. Marble entryways, crystal chandeliers, fairy tale gardens. Walking through, I could see my money everywhere. The lighting, the flowers, the champagne fountain. The moment I stepped inside, conversations stopped. Eyes followed me. Whispers started. I found a spot near the hors d'oeuvres table and watched the choreographed chaos. Phone in hand, banking app open. Then I saw Scarlett. Absolutely stunning in her dress, floating like a princess. Until our eyes met. Her practiced smile faltered. Her jaw tightened. Panic flashed across her face. She whispered to Dominic and started walking toward me, wedding dress trailing like a battle flag. The confrontation. What are you doing here? Her voice was controlled fury. I'm attending a wedding. Beautiful venue, by the way. Gabriel, we talked about this. This isn't appropriate. What's not appropriate? Being at the wedding I paid for. I said it loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Not shouting, just stating facts. You need to leave. You're going to ruin everything. I'm not doing anything. Just checking messages. But I wasn't checking messages. I was opening my banking app, looking at all those pending transfers. Or what? You'll throw me out of the wedding I funded? Call security on the person who made this possible. Her face went pale. You wouldn't. I wouldn't what? Tell the truth. That's when she exploded. Who invited Mr. Budget? The words cut through ambient conversation like a champagne cork. Heads turned. Phones came out. A champagne flute shattered on marble. Mom appeared, grabbing my arm. Please just apologize and leave. Don't ruin her day. Apologize for showing up to the wedding I funded. Don't ruin the day that existed only because I'd ruined my financial stability. I looked at Mom and realized she wasn't asking me to apologize for peace. She was asking me to maintain the lie. You know what? You're absolutely right. I smiled, opened my banking app, and started canceling transfers. The collapse. Modern weddings are held together by fragile webs of contracts and day of payments. Pull one thread, everything unravels. Caterer. Cancel transfer. Bartender. Cancel transfer. String quartet. Cancel transfer. Each cancellation took 15 seconds. Each was completely legal. Payments hadn't processed. Money was still mine. The signs started small. Bartender stopped pouring. Waitstaff clustered, checking phones. The coordinator appeared at Scarlett's side, whispering urgently. What do you mean payment didn't go through? That's impossible. When the caterer's van never showed. When cake delivery canceled mid-route. When the DJ packed up mid-song. Even professional coordination couldn't maintain the illusion. I stood in the center, calm as lake water, watching 14 months of sacrifice evaporate. Dominic approached, confused and horrified. People are saying you're canceling vendors? I've decided to withdraw my financial support. Your financial support? I thought Scarlett's family was covering everything. Ask her where the money came from. The reckoning. By my last cancellation, the transportation company, the reception looked like a disaster zone. Confused guests held empty glasses. Vendors wheeled out equipment. Scarlett stood in her perfect dress like a queen whose kingdom had evaporated. Did you ruin my wedding? Every phone came out. This was the moment everyone would remember. I walked to the room's center, unhurried. You're right, Scarlett. I shouldn't be here. I'm Mr. Budget, remember? Not part of the aesthetic. Just the guy who pays bills. I paused, looking at faces finally understanding what had been happening. So I stopped paying them. Audible gasps. Recording phones. Rising whispers. This wedding you told everyone you planned and paid for? This was never yours, Scarlett. It was mine. Every flower, every song, every piece of stemware. I paid for all of it. Dominic stared at his bride with dawning realization. You told me your parents covered the venue. You said your family had savings. They do have savings, I said. About $46. Uncomfortable laughs from the crowd. You're ruining everything. I deserve this day. You're absolutely right. You deserve a day that reflects who you've become. Selfish. Entitled. Ungrateful. Someone who uses people and discards them. I gestured at the chaos. So here it is. The day you deserve. The final word. Half the guests left immediately. The other half stayed for the show. Walking toward the exit, I heard Scarlett's voice cutting through chaos. You're not family anymore. I stopped. Turned around. Looked across the wreckage of her perfect day. And smiled. Then send me an invoice. The aftermath. In the parking lot, Dominic caught up to me. Is it true? Did you pay for everything? All but the wine. That was her friend's dad. He ran hands through his hair. The gesture of someone whose world just shifted. She told me it was family savings. Every time I offered to contribute, she said you guys had it covered. What did she want you to focus on? Showing up and looking good. Those were her exact words. I'm sorry. I had no idea. If I'd known you were paying for everything, I never would have let her exclude you from your own generosity. First genuine apology in 14 months. The next morning, a long text from Dominic. I didn't know. She told me you were handling logistics. When I confronted her after you left, she said, this was my day. He owes me that much. I asked what you owed her. He's the one with no wife, no kids, no mortgage. What else is he for? That's when I knew she wasn't marrying me. She was marrying a fantasy. Thank you for exposing the illusion. The family response. The group chat exploded. Mom, Scarlett is devastated. You humiliated her on the most important day of her life. Dad, you embarrassed the family in front of doctors, lawyers, judges. Scarlett, I hope you never experienced the shame I felt. You ruined everything I worked for. I stared at that last message. Everything she worked for. Built on my sacrifice. I typed back. I didn't ruin anything, Scarlett. I just stopped funding the illusion. Then I muted the chat. The freedom. 3 weeks later, I was in a mountain coffee shop, sketching in a notebook from the local hardware store. I'd sold my car and rented a cabin for a month. No Wi-Fi, no obligations. Just space to remember who I was. The owner, Ruth, saw my sketches. We're opening a gallery next door. Interested in showing pieces. Just like that. Not through connections or sacrifice, but because I'd finally started creating for myself. My phone buzzed. Scarlett wants to talk. She's pregnant. I looked at the message, then at the mountains, then at my sketch pad. Pregnancy wasn't an apology. It wasn't redemption. It was another narrative she wanted to control, another spotlight to crawl back into. I wasn't stepping into her cast anymore. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived at the cabin. The venue was suing Scarlett for breach of contract. My cancellations triggered unpaid vendors, broken deals, revoked licenses. Price tag. $83,000. They weren't looking at me. I'd canceled legally before fulfillment. It was her show. Now her wreckage. The exhibition. I went back to the gallery and mounted 6 pieces. Called the series Unpaid Debts. Every frame was metaphor. A wedding chair with no name card. A diamond ring melting into wine. A table set for a party where no one came. Opening night, people came. Stared. Asked who inspired it. A ghost, I said. The one I buried myself. The final message came Sunday. Scarlett again. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I hear the silence at my wedding. People talk about you like you're some martyr. You made them see you instead. You won. I hope you're proud. I typed back. I'm not proud. I'm free. And I blocked her. I don't know what comes next. Maybe I'll stay in the mountains. Maybe open a studio. Maybe disappear into trees forever and paint trauma in pastels. But I know this. I'm no longer the brother they brag about then hide. I'm no longer funding everyone else's spotlight. I'm the one who wrote the final line of my family's fantasy. And this time, I chose the seat at the table. One where silence is respected, not erased. Where boundaries aren't negotiable. Where no one throws champagne, but everyone raises a glass. To peace. To power. To freedom.